Jai Hind everyone. Welcome to my YouTube channel, which is Explore Yourselves, Banking and General Knowledge, etc. Memoir of my banking journey by Mr. V.H. Ramakrishnan, retired General Manager of Bank of India. Today is episode number 10. The chapter Nigerian Experiences is completed and now new chapter 2611 and I. The link of earlier episode is available in the description. 2611 at I. Background: I retired from Bank of India in April 2001. UTI and IDBI had nominated me as a director in a few companies which had kept me busy. In March 2006, I became a shareholder director of Andhra Bank, courtesy Mr. K. Ramakrishnan, who was general manager in Bank of India and then became chairman and managing director of Andhra Bank. In 2008, Mr. R.S. Reddy, another Bank of India executive, took over as CMD from Ramakrishnan. We used to have board and other committee meetings almost on a monthly basis. It was decided to uphold our board meeting on 27 November 2008 at Mumbai. During the same month, Mr. A.C. Mahajan, the chairman of Canara Bank, former GM of Bank of India, had nominated me as a director of Canara Bank Securities Limited, a corporate broking entity and financial intermediary. The managing director of that company was one Mr. Srikantan. He is the chief executive of Canara Bank's New York branch now. He called me up and requested me to visit their office if I had happened to come to Mumbai to familiarize myself with their operations before attending their board meeting. Since I had the board meeting of Andhra Bank on 27th, I told him I can come to his office on 26th. He was quite happy and requested me to join for lunch. In the normal course, I would have reached Mumbai on 26th night. If I had done so, the story would have been different. 26 November 2008, 11 a.m. I landed in Mumbai on 26th around 11 a.m. from Hyderabad. Andhra Bank had booked me in Trident Hotel, Nariman Point, where the meeting was to be held the next morning. Trident was earlier known as Oberoi. The management was given to Trident later, and then another one was built adjacent to this one and was called the Oberoi. Both hotels were interconnected, and you need not go out of Trident to enter the Oberoi. After refreshing myself, I went to the office of Canara Bank Securities, which was located in a lane of MG Road. I had a good meeting and lunch. They made a presentation about their activities. I was very much impressed with their dealing room and Mr. Shikantan's involvement. It was in a good frame of mind that I returned to the hotel. My room was on the 25th floor facing the ocean. I felt as if I was in a ship. Even though it is called 25th floor, it was only 15th floor since the floor numbers start from 10 and not from 1. Then there is no 13th floor. I reached the room around 4:30 p.m. and had a long evening before me. 5 p.m. I had a hot cup of coffee and then started going through the papers of the meetings. I had already studied them before leaving Hyderabad and had made notes. My habit was always to go through the notes again a day before the meeting and finally decide which issues should I take up at the meeting. It was over by it was over by 6:30 p.m. I was wondering what to do. There was a multiplex opposite to Trident. I thought of going for a movie. I checked up the shows from the Times of India and found that none of them were interesting. If I had gone for a movie, the story would have been different. Then I thought I will go for dinner at one of the restaurants in Trident or Oberoi. Normally, I order something light in the room. I avoid eating exotic foods a night before the meeting so that I would not have any stomach problems the next day. But somehow, on that evening, I had a temptation to go and have a lavish dinner. Then I suddenly remembered that ODI match was on between India and England at Qatar. I switched on the TV and saw that India was batting. Sachin Tendulkar opened the innings and was batting well. Immediately, I abandoned my plan to go down for the dinner and decided I will watch the cricket sitting in the cozy atmosphere of the room. The match was very interesting. I also enjoyed watching the sunset at Marine Drive. Thanks to Sachin, I did not go down for dinner. If I had gone down, the story would have been different. 8 p.m. I had ordered a fresh fruit juice and toast for dinner. I can hear you murmuring, toast in a five-star hotel. I have to admit I am not much enamored of lunch and dinner at five-star hotels, but I'm fond of buffet breakfast. I always get a feeling we get fresh things and a wide choice. I always eat a heavy breakfast and very light lunch. I continued to watch the match. I was relaxed in a happy frame of mind. What else you need? A five-star hotel, comfort, nice dinner, an interesting cricket match, and a view of the ocean. 9:30 p.m. I got a call from my sister-in-law who is living in Chembur. She told me there is some shooting going on in VT station, Chhatrapati Shivaji Terminus. She was watching the TV. She said it appeared to be some gang war and it is also reported to take place in Nariman Point area. She advised me to watch the TV. Before she could finish the sentence, I heard a loud bang and the hotel building shook as if there was a mild earthquake. I told my sister-in-law that there is a problem and that I would call her later. I immediately rang up the reception, but there was no ringing tone. The line was dead. I rushed out of the room. The lift was just opposite to my room. A foreigner who was in the next room also came out. Both of us first thought of taking the lift to go down. Then I remembered the warning that in case of fire one should not use the lift. I told the foreigner that there is a problem, we should get back, lock the room, and watch the news. I returned to the room, locked it properly, and switched the news channel. I rang up my wife and told her that there is some problem, maybe a gang war, and that there is a big bang. I told her not to worry as the police may soon come and take control of the situation. The following general managers of the bank were also staying with me in Trident: Miss Suryanarayana, Prabhakar Reddy, Rakesh Sethi, he is now the chairman of Allahabad Bank, and Vaidyanathan, one joint secretary of the finance department, nominee director of Government of India, was also there. Mr. T.R. Ramabhadran's board secretary was also booked in the same hotel. They all had rooms on the 24th floor. The CMD, Mr. R.S. Reddy, the ED Mr. Anil Girothra, and other directors were to arrive the next morning. I called Mr. Ramabhadran on the mobile. He said that he, along with Rakesh Sethi, Vaidyanathan, PR of Mumbai Zonal Office, and a couple of officers had gone out to Hotel Status, a well-known vegetarian restaurant in Nariman Point area, for dinner, and when they returned, they found that the front door has been blasted. They could not enter the hotel and were standing opposite to the hotel. The entrance to the hotel had been cordoned off. Then only I realized that a grenade has been thrown on the main door. Later, I learned that the guards at the entrance were killed in the blast. Ramabhadran assured me he would be outside and keep me informed. Thus began the long night. After alerting my wife, I started watching the TV. At that time, there was no mention of the word terrorist, so I did not panic. I was sure that the efficient Mumbai police may come within no time and bring the situation under control. My only worry was that the building may catch fire and I should be ready to leave. So I quickly switched over from my night dress to a shirt and trouser, kept my wallet in the pocket. I also packed my shoulder bag with some essentials such as the tickets, a few emergency medicines, a toothpaste, and brush. Now I was ready to leave at a moment's notice. I was listening carefully so as to not miss the fire alarm. But there was no sound outside. There was no there was also no way of talking to any official in the hotel. Luckily, inter-room connectivity was on, so I could talk to the general managers and the joint secretary. A typical IAS officer, he was quite calm and said things would be all right by morning. I called Ramabhadran to know whether there was any developments. He also did not have any clue, but he assured me that he will be waiting outside along with other officers and keep me updated. Mr. Bhaskar, the security officer of the bank, had also joined him. I decided to lie down fully dressed. In order to watch the TV, I put two pillows under my head so that I could watch the TV lying down. I even put on my socks so that if I had to leave, I could leave within a minute. There were scenes of CST station and then the Taj Hotel was shown. The shooting of Leopold Cafe and the Jewish Community Center was also reported. Now I sat up. I got a feeling that something was seriously wrong. I was wondering why they are not reporting that the police was in control of the situation. Around 11:30 or so, the TV reported that it is an attack of terrorists. My sleep vanished. I sat upright. When I heard the report that the chief of anti-terrorist squad, Mr. Hemant Karkare, was shot dead by the terrorists, I realized the situation was very dangerous. I could see flames and smoke in Taj Hotel. It was confirmed that there were terrorists in our hotel and that shooting had taken place in the restaurant. I am not going into the details of attack which all of you know by now. I'm going to restrict myself to what were my feelings, thoughts and the actions I took. Dale Carnegie had mentioned in his famous book How to Stop Worrying and Start Living that when you are in a crisis, imagine the worst and then mentally prepare yourself for that individually. Eventually. Thereafter, you will find it easier to face the problem. I quickly analyzed what could happen to me. There were four possibilities in the order of worst to best. I could be shot dead. I could be injured and taken to a hospital. I could be held as a hostage for a day or two. I could be rescued without any harm. So, my first thought was I may not survive if it is a terrorist attack. So, I began to prepare a checklist in my mind. The first thought was whether I had written a will. The answer was yes. The next question was whether my wife was aware of my finances. All my bank accounts were joint accounts. Since my wife was well educated, there should not be any problem for her. After this, I felt a little peaceful. All this time, my ears were also tuned to the to any sound on the corridor. There was an eerie silence. I told myself that who would come to the 25th floor. At that time, I was not aware that in Taj the terrorists went from room to room. I could not do anything if I get injured. Things would not be in my hands. I only ensured that my visiting card with home address was in my wallet so that my family could be contacted. I also wrote my blood group in a small piece of paper, put it in the wallet. I thought if I am held as a hostage in some common room, then also I would be helpless. But if I am unable to get out of the room where I was in, then I could do something. I was a little exhausted by this time. I decided to give a thought to this only if I am not rescued before the morning. Meanwhile, I decided I should conserve as much energy as possible to face what was in store for me in the morning. The only way was to get some sleep. At this stage, I did not talk to my home as I did not want to disturb them during night. Incidentally, my TV at home was not working, so my family had no clue about what was happening during the night in Mumbai. I kept the TV on and closed my eyes. I slept for about 15 minutes and then woke up, watched TV again, and slept for half an hour. This process of sleeping and waking up continued through the night. Finally, I woke at 6 a.m. It was dawn, with the rays of sun coming out from my rays of hope also arose. I realized when it is bright outside, our mood also changes. I was now more confident that my rescue may not take much time. With the newly found confidence, I put the coffee maker on. Thank God, about 25 years ago, the hotels started keeping coffee maker with a supply of coffee, tea, milk, and sugar in the room. Brushed my teeth and made a really hot cup of coffee. With the release of adrenaline by the coffee taken, I first rang up my wife and told her that there are terrorists in the hotel. This was a shock to her. I could sense the slight tremor in her voice. I told her to be prepared for a long wait, even though I was hopeful that I may come out early. I suggested her to go to the neighbor's house and watch the TV. She refused to do that and she said she would like to pray and then sit and watch TV in someone else's house. Then the news might also spread, resulting in many callers. I agreed with her. I got a call from Mr. R.S. Reddy, CMD of Andhra Bank, expressing shock over the developments. He assured me that he would try his best to ensure that we are brought out as early as possible. He also informed me that the meetings have been cancelled. This was the first of the many calls I was to receive during the course of the day. Within half an hour, my wife called me. She said that she had informed my brother-in-law, her eldest brother, Dr. Kallaraman, Kallaraman, a well-known neurosurgeon based in Chennai, to contact our Guru, His Holiness the Sankaracharya of Kanchi, Kamakoti, Peetam Sri Jayendra Saraswati Swamigal, and informed him about my position. Dr. Kallaraman had done that immediately, and His Holiness was quite concerned, but assured him that he would pray for my coming out unharmed. This was a morale booster and a lifeline for me. Now I started thinking about the third alternative of being locked up in the room for a couple of days. The important concern was food and water. I'd seen a notice in the bathroom that tap water was drinkable, so I filled up all empty water bottles with water. Then food. I looked into the minibar. There were two packets of biscuits, Toblerone chocolates, cashew nuts, and roasted almonds. A few Tetra packs of juices were also there. There were many bottles of hot drinks which were of no use to me. I decided I would I should learn to manage with the above items for 2 days. So I mentally calculated how much I should take every 4 hours during the day. I also divided the coffee and tea bags accordingly. I had never consumed from minibar, even though I started staying in five-star hotels since 1984, in view of the prohibitive cost of the items, even at company cost. My next concern was about taking bath. I normally do not move out of the house except for morning walk without taking bath. Even at home, I feel very uncomfortable if I do not have my bath before 8:30. Now my dilemma was if the call comes for me from the police or someone else to immediately rush down and I am in the bath, what I should do. It may be a big risk if I delay my departure. I debated for about 5 minutes and then decided to take the risk. I had the quickest shower of my life. If there was a Guinness Book of Records competition for a quick shower, my name would have been entered then and there. I also put on a fresh set of clothes and sat down for my frugal breakfast of a Toblerone chocolate, two digestive biscuits, and the luxury of a hot coffee. With my breakfast over, I had a good feeling that now I can face my crisis. The TV was on. It was NDTV, and suddenly I saw Barkha Dutt standing outside Trident. It was like seeing your neighborhood girl. I was surprised she had landed in Mumbai for the coverage. With that, I once again realized in what a grim situation I was caught. To my shock, she started mentioning about trying to enter the hotel. Commandos? I asked myself whether the situation was so serious that the police could not handle. The reality of it struck me, and I came out of the false sense of security I had so far. The mobile started ringing. 27:11 morning. I picked up my mobile. It was Mr. Ramabhadran, the board secretary of Andhra Bank. He did not give me any hope. Poor gentleman, he was outside throughout the night. He said he would have some news before noon. However, he advised me that I should never open the room door until I hear from him. I should stay put. The next call was from Srikantan of Canara Bank Securities. He felt very bad since because of his invitation I landed on 26th. I assured him that it was none of his fault. My wife called me and told me that she had informed my son in US. She advised him not to call me on the phone as she felt that if the terrorists are intercepting the calls and found that I was receiving overseas calls, then it may draw their attention. It might have given me a VVIP status and I might be in danger. I agreed with her. All this time the TV was on and the reporters were describing how commandos were trying to enter the hotel. I was wondering why we were given all such details which the terrorists could also make use of. Around 9:30 the TV screen went blank. I presume the connection was cut off under instructions from the police. With that I felt totally isolated. My only contact with the outside world was my cell phone. Luckily I had the charger with me. I started getting many calls. I'm not able to remember all the callers, but I recollect the calls of Mr. R.S. Reddy, Mr. K. Ramakrishnan, who was the Chief Executive of Indian Banks Association, Mr. A.C. Mahajan, then Chairman of Canara Bank, and many colleagues from Bank of India. Mr. V. Rajaraman, who was the General Manager at BOI, suggested that he would be the only person to be in touch with me from the bank side and he would brief all other friends in BOI who were known to me. Calls came from all over the country, especially from Delhi, where I worked as zonal manager for more than 4 years. It was all very touching. I never knew I had earned so much love and affection from my colleagues. They all sounded very anxious about my welfare. Got a couple of calls from TV channels and newspapers asking me how I was feeling. They were all looking for interesting sound bites. Whenever you are under tension or stress, you tend to eat. I was no exception. Around 10:30, I had to go to the I had to go at the cashew nuts and almonds along with a soft drink. Noon. There was no sign of any relief. Everything was quiet. Occasionally I could hear a gunshot. That was a bit disturbing. Called Ramabhadran. He gave a ray of hope. He said they were trying to get us out with the help of the police. I should wait for their call and that I should open the door only after hearing the voice of security officer Mr. Bhaskar. He also gave me Bhaskar's number. I had nothing to do except attend the calls. I used to carry with me some reading material. I had the London Economist, which I had finished. I am an addict to this weekly. Mr. R.P. Vaidya, former general manager of Bank of India, introduced me to this magazine way back in 1974. He also taught me as to what type of articles I should read. Since Ramapadaran had indicated that the rescue may happen soon, I decided to finish my lunch a bit early. I had three digestive biscuits and chocolate, followed by coffee. I decided my next coffee might be a black coffee as milk sachets were running out. Hence afternoon. I was in the meanwhile keeping in touch with other trapped executives or directors of the bank. One of the executives was running out of battery in his mobile and did not have a charger. Added to what Added to that, he started feeling a little pessimistic. I tried to cheer him up, even though I was also becoming desperate as nothing was happening. Time seemed to pass slowly. It was 4 p.m. I almost gave up hope that I might be out on that day. It was a bit depressing. Then the much awaited call came. Ramabhadran told me that any moment Mr. Bhaskar, the security officer, would come to my room. I should open the door after talking to him on the phone. He also told me to leave all my luggage in the room itself. I asked him whether I should carry the board papers. He said no. I should only pick up my handbag and move out with Bhaskar. With a spring in my step, I quickly freshened myself and made a hot coffee with the last sachet of milk. I put on my shoes and was ready to open the door within a few seconds after the call. Statutory warning: those with weak heart may skip the next paragraph. 5 p.m. Finally, there was a ring of the calling bell, followed by a ring on the mobile. It was Bhaskar. I opened the door slowly and carefully to make sure it was really Bhaskar. Yes, he was there with two commandos. He whispered to me that I should remain silent, switch off the mobile, and come with them. No one else was visible in the corridor. Absolute silence. The silence of the graveyard. Suddenly being exposed to the open, fear gripped me. We went through the door and we were at the landing of 25th floor of the fire escape staircase. One of the commandos told us to stay there and climb down. With a gun in his hand, he looked left and right to see whether the coast was clear and then signaled us to come down. That was when I felt very scared. It was a fear of death. In Tamil, we call it as Marana Bhayam. Any time any terrorist can jump from somewhere and shoot us. At the landing of 24th floor, I was asked to wait and Bhaskar and one commando went into the corridor. The other commando stayed with me. After a gap of 5 minutes, which looked like 1 hour, then came MS Suryanarayana, Prabhakar Reddy, and the government director. All of them looked shaken. We all greeted with only our eyes and started the journey downwards. Same procedure. One commando would go down with gun in his hand, look around, and give us a clear signal. We would then climb down and wait on the next landing. I felt totally exposed and felt a fear which I had never felt in my life. Throughout, it was a pin drop silence. Initially, I started counting the floors. Then I stopped. I felt we had to go a long way. Will we survive? Looking at the serious faces of the commandos, we felt we were in real danger. One by one, we climbed down the stairs. Same procedure was repeated for each floor. The fear never left me. Then one of the commandos opened the door and to our great relief, we found ourselves in the lobby. There, the general manager of Trident was standing. He greeted us and requested us to give our room numbers to a smartly dressed girl at the reception counter. They were the only two persons in the big lobby. The girl asked our names and room numbers. A silly question arose in my mind whether she should ask me what I consumed from the minibar. No, she did not. We were shocked to see the entrance of the hotel, which was full of glass pieces from the main door, which was shattered by the grenade thrown the previous evening. Bhaskar took us across the road, which was all cordoned off. to the opposite building's basement where a police control room was functioning. We had a debriefing. Our names and addresses were noted. Fingerprints and photographs were taken. It took about 15 minutes. Then we came out to be warmly welcomed by Mr. Ramabhadran and other executives who were anxiously waiting. Before we could talk to them, all the media people and TV crews surrounded us asking questions since we were among the first few to come out of the hotel. Free at last. After being locked up in the room for 24 hours, and when I breathed the fresh air and looked around, the world seemed to be beautiful. I had read similar description in fiction, but felt it for the first time. We thanked Bhaskar profusely, who had risked his life in climbing up to the 25th floor along with the commandos to rescue us. I felt this was even beyond his call of duty. I would never forget his heroic effort. The cars were ready and we straight went to the airport. After I got in the car, I rang up my wife and broke the good news to her. Initially, she could not believe that I had come out. Then I told her to inform our guru at Kanchi, who had inquired with my brother-in-law two or three times during the day to find out about me. At the airport, I found life was normal. People were drinking coffee and tea, eating burgers and sandwiches. The only difference was that the TV screens were showing the Taj burning, but the passengers seemed to be indifferent. I reached home around 11 p.m. and my 2-year-old granddaughter, without even knowing what I had gone through, rushed to give me a hug with a smile. Back to this world. An epilogue to the 2611 story. Within a few days after returning to Hyderabad, we had a board meeting of Andhra Bank. Mr. R.S. Reddy, the chairman, made a mention about the 2611 incident and the agony of suffered by the directors and executives. I then suggested to him that the heroic effort of Mr. Bhaskar, the security officer, should be recognized and rewarded. I offered to contribute some money so that we could give him substantial cash reward as a token of appreciation, even though my quantum of money would not be adequate compensation to the risk he had taken. Mr. Reddy was quick to respond and assured that he would honor Mr. Bhaskar at the ensuing board meeting and that the bank would take care of the cash reward part also. Mr. Reddy went one step further and invited both Mr. and Mrs. Bhaskar to attend the next board meeting. In that meeting, Mr. Bhaskar was honored and a decent amount was given as a token of appreciation amidst a thunderous applause from the board members and other executives. Both of them were also invited to join for lunch with the board. I am writing this to show how much appreciation could motivate the staff. Did I tell the neighbors about the incident after returning home? No. Only after returning home I realized what a great escape I had. I won't say that I had a trauma, but I was afraid if I kept on repeating to neighbors one by one that what happened to me, I may suffer a trauma. So I decided to act normally. Till now, my neighbors do not know what I had gone through. There was only one exception. On 26 November 2009, I was sitting in the senior citizens park in our complex. From the morning, I was recapitulating what I had suffered exactly 1 year back. So I decided to tell my friends in the park about my experience. I started narrating, but to my surprise, the reaction was very disappointing. No one seemed to be interested in the story, though they were just nodding their heads without any surprise or shock. I quietly discontinued my narration and changed the topic. When we were rescued, only four of us, all Andhra Bank connected, we were climbing down. Did not meet anyone else on our way, but at the control room we saw a couple of foreigners sitting. We do not know how many commandos were there. Later on, we learned that there were two terrorists in the hotel who killed the guests in the dining room. Mr. Ashok Kapoor, founder of Yes Bank, whom I had met in Lagos, was one of them. It was reported that from Trident they moved to the Oberoi. Terrorists were shot dead much later after we came out. The hotel was so damaged that it reopened only after 18 months. Taj was attacked by six terrorists. If you want to know fully what happened in the Taj, I would strongly recommend the book The Siege, The Attack on the Taj by Adrian Levy, Kathy Scott Clark. I read this book almost at one go. Every year on 26 November, I remember the events and feel it is my second birthday. Now, some of you have been asking how I remembered so many details. Immediately after the incident, I had had been telling a friend about how I faced this situation. He had suggested that I should write down everything and send emails to my friends. I drafted an email, but before I could send the same, I read an email by Mr. Ramamurthy, former CMD of Corporation Bank, who had narrated about his ordeal at Taj. He faced the terrorists and was tortured by them. He suffered a lot and escaped by jumping from the window. More details are available in the book mentioned above. After reading that, I felt my suffering was nothing, so I did not send the email. It remained as a draft all these years. Now I had an opportunity to use those points. Well, that brings an end to the episode. The episode 2611 and I is completed, and next episode is Delhi Chalo. Thank you very much for your patience. Please like and share this video and subscribe to my YouTube channel.